ready.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello and welcome to Chronically Distracted. I'm your host, Katie.
And I'm your host, Sid.
We are two long-term friends who have bonded over intellectual rabbit holes, animal husbandry, and grandma crafting for years.
And now we're here to talk your ears off about all of it.
Every weekish, we will delve into the hobby of collecting hobbies. Today, we are discussing our favorite hobbyists, makers, doers, the source of our chaotic inspirations. But first, how are you, Sid? What is new this week?
Editing Sid here. If you've noticed that our sound quality is not as crispy as it usually is, that's because my computer decided to say quack you and not record my voice. I will realize this about halfway through this episode. So just bear with us for the first half of the episode, and then you'll get that nice crispy sound again. Well, this week has been a huge whirlwind for me. I suddenly went from being like fun employed to having 3 quote unquote jobs. I'm like actually working for money at one place. I'm working on stuff for my degree, and then also started like streaming in like a really real way, I guess you could say.
Yeah, you've got a schedule and you're sticking to it.
Yeah, which is unheard of for me. First of all,
look at you go.
It was fun, but it was the past week has felt like 3 weeks, and it's only Thursday. So
I also feel that way, and I'm only working one job.
Well, I mean,
if we're not counting the podcast as a job, because if you're counting the podcast, you have 4 jobs.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, and you do like all the organizing for it, so I would say you definitely have a 4th job.
Yeah, I also do all of the editing, which I am extremely behind on.
Yeah, I'm behind on the captioning too.
It's fine. We have a week until the first episode.
Yeah, as long as the captions are done, but by the time it publishes, that's fine.
We're doing great, basically.
Doing great. I mean, we only have ourselves to be accountable to. It's not like we have sponsors. So like,
yeah, or viewers at this point.
We have no viewers, we have no listeners. We're
just vibes.
This is all a fun run.
No viewers, no listeners, just vibes.
Yeah, this week I have temporarily acquired a 3rd dog.
Oh.
And I won't get into the details. This dog is not staying. He does need a home. So if anyone wants a very large, very chill dog, hit me up until further notice. Or else he's going to have to be surrendered to a shelter, which is not fun. But anyway, I'm not here to be a bummer. I have another fun pet fact from my household is that I have a coolie loach in this tank, that one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a little worm type fish that is supposed to be like a really peaceful bottom feeder.
Okay.
And it theoretically was not supposed to bother my shrimps. I had Neocaridina shrimps in there. And I think the coolie loach has eaten all of my shrimps.
Oh.
Yes. Apparently it is a thing that they can do, don't often do. And it seems that mine hath done.
Hath done.
Hath done. So the loach was like a $10 or $15 fish, and now it's probably about a $75 fish that I never see because he's nocturnal.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't even know what a loach is. Like I can't even picture a loach in my brain right now.
Well, there are lots of different types of loaches. There are lots of different fish called loaches. Can I like pull one up on the screen for our viewers? Can I share it in the Discord?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not.
Pull up.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. I've seen those at aquariums.
Well, they're tiny. I don't know if anyone else is going to be able to see this based on how you're streaming, but or how you're recording the video. But actually, these don't actually look like mine. Mine looks more like, no, not like that. Mine looks more like this. It's got way more black than the like yellowy orange.
Okay.
they have a bunch of different varieties. They also just come in straight black, but he's only like 3.5 inches long and really like pencil thin.
Oh,
But this is like the classic one.
okay.
Got like little teeny eyes and little whiskers, little teeny fins. They basically look like a worm, and they hide around, they hide under things, and they hide in the substrate.
Interesting.
Yes, but I will stop sharing now. Jobs, and me having an extra dog and a fish that is doing what
And
he's
a
not
few
supposed
less
to
shrimp.
be doing. And decidedly, I don't think there are any shrimp left.
Oh no.
I know, I'm like a little bit devastated. I really liked the shrimp.
No.
Anyway, are you ready for some questions from our listeners?
Okay, we've already established that we don't have any listeners yet.
But they don't know. They don't know that.
Okay, we'll pretend.
All right, our first round, tandem questions. I'm going to answer this one first because I wrote it first. Do you think your hobbies are influenced? I would say yes. My algorithms are an endless curated stream of activities I want to try, to the point where it's a little problematic sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. It's overwhelming because I feel like I have so many things that I want to see. And sorry, I'm waving around a shark. I have so many things that I want to see and I want to try, but I literally have no time because aforementioned 4 jobs. So then I just like fall into this spiral of who am I and what hobbies do I actually want to do. It can be a little bit much.
Oh, you get way more existential about it than I do. I'm just like, add it to list, add it to list, add it to list.
Yeah, I mean, I do that
And
too. And then I realize, oh my God,
Yeah.
I have no time. And that's when the existential dread comes in.
I don't really have existential dread about the projects I haven't gotten to. I'm just like, wow, I have a really long list of projects, and I just do the ones that I want to do in the moment. Like, what I'm actually working on is based completely off the vibe and my
Okay.
mood. As long as I'm working on something, I'm usually pretty happy. I'll keep adding to that list till the day I die.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else you would do.
No, I don't know. I don't know how you get through life without
You have
the
to have
list
a
of
running
projects
list.
that will never be done.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Are there any hobbies that you've tried specifically because of social media?
I would say historical sewing, that if I ever did any sewing. um, but most of my DIY projects are based on things that I've seen other people do on social media. So I think that's like where the DIY Delulu comes in. Because I see somebody else do it and I think, how hard can it be? And the answer is very hard, like very, very hard. And it's not because I think I'm better than them or equal to them, but I'm just like, this is a thing that is possible. And therefore I should also be able to do this thing that is possible. And yeah, it's possible. Probably not for me. But yeah, so I just have like all of these like not half-assed, but just kind of like very jerry-rigged DIY projects because I wanted something to look the way it did on social media, and
Yeah.
like everything else, it never turns out the way it looks on social media. And I mean, once I accept that, then it's fine.
It also takes like a million times longer. I think
Oh, yeah.
the appeal of watching other people do it is that you can watch the project from start to finish in like 15 minutes.
Instant
half an hour.
gratification.
And it's like that project took them months.
If not years. Like my reptile
If not
cages.
years.
Like they shouldn't have taken me years. The whole grad school thing kind of ruined that. But like I watch an hour video on how to do this thinking that'll take me a few weeks. Years. It's been years. Anyway. What about you?
You're almost there. Yeah, my answer was actually also historical sewing. I don't think I would have gotten into historical sewing if it hadn't been for social media. And I have finished one historical sewing project. It's a set of stays that I have since worn to a Renaissance fair, the Renaissance fair in your town, AO,
Yay.
which I'm not going to mention. But yeah, I mean, it took me a couple months to make them because I insisted on sewing everything by hand. And it was a good project. It also didn't turn out as good as I wanted them to, but like they're good enough to wear.
Yeah.
And I can't really. I don't really see myself delving back into historical sewing other than for the hand sewing techniques when I need them. Like some of the
Mm-hmm.
hand sewing techniques kind of transcend time. Like they're not going to stay. Like I mean, it's hand sewing. There's only so many
Yeah.
things you could do with a needle and thread, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I think that part of it is nice because I just use those skills whenever I want.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever projects I want to do. But in terms of like making a Victorian evening gown, where the
Whack.
am I going to wear that?
Yeah.
When am I going to
No.
wear that? Am I just going to wear it in my studio by myself with my dog so that I can get dog hair all over it? Like maybe in my youth, but not now.
In my youth. Yeah, I feel like eventually I will historically sew, like not like in practice I will sew historical things, but I mainly just want to make like I want to make a pair of stays. I want to make like a shift, like a linen shift. That sounds comfy as whack.
Yeah.
I would love that. I don't want a ball gown. But you're right about the hand sewing techniques because I feel like I've just from watching specific YouTubers on historical
Which
sewing
we'll get
techniques,
to.
which we will
Yeah.
get to. I've just kind of like through osmosis have started using those techniques and not even really. So like when I'm fixing a pair of pants, because the only reason I sew is to make clothes fit my body. And I'm like, oh, I'll do like a little felling technique or whatever. And
Love felling.
where else would I have learned that except
Yeah.
from historical sewing YouTube? Also, the lighting is not giving. It's fine.
It's giving jail cell.
It's giving. This is my jail cell.
It's giving 1970s detective. Sorry, I just accidentally muted myself.
We're doing great today. I did order.
Yeah.
I did order a curtain from a thrift store. Actually, I ordered a valance.
Nice.
And
So our many viewers will be delighted to hear that you will have a curtain soon.
soon, this will not be an issue. I don't know. I didn't want to just buy like any crappy polyester curtain from Home Goods when I could have like a linen cotton blend of valance for $2 from a fabric thrift store.
Heck yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Anyway.
You should link to that thrift store in the description.
It's Nacho
You want
Ann's.
to
Is the name of the store.
nacho.
Nacho Ann's.
Nacho like nachos?
Yeah, like Nacho Ann's because it's not Joanne's. I found them on
Oh my
Instagram.
goodness. Wait, that's so fun. I've never heard of them.
Yeah, they're so good. So good.
I'm gonna have to check that out later and spend some money.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna each list our top hobbyists and hobby creators. I said 3 to 5, but I already listed 6. So
That's
there are no.
fine.
If you think of any more, feel free. There are no rules here, and we're gonna see where we overlap. So I put Rachel Maxey as number 1 because she's the one where I like really look forward every week to her. Well, every other week now to her videos. Like if I sometimes Friday will hit and I'll be like, have I watched the new Rachel Maxey video yet? Like it's almost part of my routine.
Yeah, for sure.
Love her to death. She seems super sweet. And I guess for anyone who doesn't watch her stuff, she is like a variety crafter YouTuber.
Mm-hmm.
She has an Instagram. She does a lot of cosplays and nerdy stuff.
Yeah.
Love her so. Cottagecore type.
She won the Nick's Face Awards, and that's where she kind of got her beginning to stardom. So Nick's Face Awards is kind of like it's makeup, but it's like SFX makeup, but also like glamour makeup. But they had like really extravagant things that they did, and so she would make costumes for that as well. And so that's kind of where she got her start. She's also my number 1. So yeah. Anyway, just continue.
Yeah. Then I have Tanner from Serpa Design. He does all of these like aquarium, terrarium, vivarium, naturey builds for animal enclosures, and he does outdoor pond builds. And I've watched him for years now, and watching his growth just in his production quality and his production quality of the enclosures and of his video skills has been like phenomenal. There's nothing stopping this man.
Yeah.
He really inspires me with all of the pet keeping stuff that I do. I don't think there's anyone out there better than him, as far as I know.
Yeah, for like enclosure design and that sort of thing. And bioactive environments. I haven't seen anything better either. He's also my number 2 person. So we
Wow,
can
look
just
at us go.
we can just continue down this line. We're doing great.
Wait. Number 3, Bernadette Banner.
Bernadette Banner.
Bernadette Banner, baby.
With the caveat though that like she doesn't really post YouTube videos as much anymore. And that's a huge bummer to me. And I'm glad that she's she's apparently, from what I can tell, not relying on YouTube as her major source of income, which like good for her because I've heard that's a hellscape.
Yeah. Like way more of a gamble than it used to be.
Yeah, exactly. So clearly she's doing other things, but I love her videos so much. And also I still included her because she really was the beginning of my like going into historical sewing. It was Bernadette for sure.
Yes. Yeah, she was definitely kickstarting it for me for sure. I mean, just the aesthetic of her videos like pulled me in, and then the content and how she explains everything so well researched and so thoroughly and just so enjoyably.
Yes.
Like chef's kiss, 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
I love everything Bernadette Banner does. There's so much quality infused in every second of everything that she does.
Also, I find the way that she talks and the way that she is hyper formal yet also silly extremely humorous. Like there's just something about her being so deadpan while using like the longest word ever to describe something, sounding like, professor that's in their 80s. But it's just humorous to me. It's just, I don't know why.
She makes me giggle. Our age, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. It just makes me giggle. Like there's just something hysterical about it to me.
Yeah, and she'll go from like delving into a pretty serious historical topic to be like, and here's my guinea pig being the cutest thing that's ever lived on the planet.
Yeah, or like Crawley, she did like this sponsorship one time, and this has lived rent free in my head ever since. And I don't even know what the sponsorship was for, but she literally crawled around on the floor going after her guinea pig, pretending it was like a wildlife documentary thing.
Was it a Surfshark ad?
I think it was.
I think it was a Surfshark ad.
I think it was a Surfshark ad.
That's how you know Surfshark invested their money in advertising right.
That is true. That is true. Surfshark should sponsor this podcast because I use Surfshark.
Amazing.
Yeah, no, mostly it's because...
well, don't tell them that because then they're not going to sponsor us. Veery would like to say hello to the podcast. Can Veery say hello?
She can say hello.
Hello. Ooh. Oh, I don't like face licks. Thank you.
She's weaseling.
Now I'm going to get haters about her e-collar. It doesn't have electric. It just has a vibrate, okay? Vibrate and tone.
It's a hey, come back.
Yes, it's just a little extra. She's 7 and she's gonna be deaf soon, so I would like a sound closer to her ears.
That's fair. I do think Boba's 10 years old, and I think he's going deaf, but honestly, I'm good with it. He's so much calmer now. He's doing great. Okay, number 4.
Number 4? My 4 is Shelby Dennis, who is an equestrian like horse trainer YouTuber. I mean, she's a professional horse trainer, but so I don't know if she even counts as a hobbyist. I also don't really know if Bernadette counts as a hobbyist.
Yeah, no,
because they're professionals, but
okay.
they're the viewers tend to be hobbyists.
Well, here's where did they start from? Like they didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They're professionals now because of what social media has become, but like. Yeah. They didn't start there, so I think it still counts. But also, I think it's funny that you have an equestrian person on your list and I don't. So I'm gonna look her up because I feel like I should have an equestrian person on mine.
You don't watch Shelby Dennis?
I don't. I've never heard of her.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, she has ADHD, so she talks about that sometimes.
Hang on, actively looking her up right now.
Yeah, she's cool. She's Canadian. She lives in British Columbia. But she focuses on rewards-based horse training and at-liberty horse training. She has she's got a whole herd of horses, but she has a whole series dedicated. She adopted 2 Mustangs off from BLM Mustangs, so she drove down
Oh
to
my
the
God.
U.S., adopted 2 Mustangs, and she has a whole series of gentling them only R positive. It's been
Incredible.
amazing to watch. Um,
I am now,
and
as of
she
this moment, subscribed. Go ahead.
excellent. She goes on rants a lot, so if you get tired of the rant, just like skip forward.
Yeah, I mean,
I
fair.
don't mind it. I don't mind it because everything she's ranting about, I'm like, yes, that's what I'm trying to say. She's like, turn out your damn horses, and I'm like, yes,
Yes. Turn out your damn
um,
horses.
yes. She has a horse that she bred herself. She has one homebred foal. His name's Banksy. Just turned 5, and I've literally been
Wait.
watching her since
Wait.
Banksy was born. Yes.
I'm an idiot. I follow her on Instagram.
Oh, but you don't follow her on YouTube.
No, and I didn't know what her name was.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Banks. Yeah.
I knew who Banksy was. I knew what the horse's name was, but not.
Banksy's famous.
I.
And yeah,
That says so much about me.
She runs Milestone Equestrian, which is based off of her horse Milo, and then she has another horse Pogo. I'm sure you know all the horse.
I know all the
characters.
horses. I know all the horses.
You know all the
Did
horse
not know her
characters.
name. Didn't. Not that I
Yeah.
didn't care, but it's not in her username on Instagram. So I didn't know she made long form. Okay, now I feel dumb.
Yep.
Moving on.
Yeah, her long form content is more like vlog style. It's less like highly produced, highly edited, and more just like, here's what I've been focusing on with the horses.
I love that.
Here's what I've been up to. That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I don't need every YouTube creator I watch to be like super high quality productions. Like, I'm just interested in what she's doing.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like now I tend to shy away from super high quality productions because they just feel really inauthentic, I think is the word.
Definitely depends on the YouTuber for me.
Yeah, that's fair. Some of them can still have really high quality productions while still having that essence of like being real, which I have a person later down on my list. We'll get there.
Okay. All right, so Shelby's my number 4. What about your number 4?
My number 4 is Charlie from the Stitchery. As I'm editing this, Charlie just put out a new video with another creator, Shannon Makes, on hot takes around sewing, which is so timely because our last episode was on sewing, and I'm very excited about it, and you all should go watch it.
Is this a YouTuber? Because I have
She
not heard of this
is
person.
a YouTuber. Is it the Stitchery or is it the Stitchery?
I'm gonna
Yeah,
look it
the
up.
Stitchery.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, I just burped on the pod. Burp number 1.
Of many probably. I think her name is Charlie, but we've now established that I'm not a credible source for human names.
Welcome to Chronically Distracted, where your hosts are not credible sources.
I'm not a credible source for names. I'm pretty sure her name is Charlotte, but she goes by Charlie a lot. And she is another sewing person. So she makes primarily I love how we're both just like, one of us is talking and one of us is looking up the people that we haven't heard of yet.
Sorry, I just subscribed.
No, I just thought it was
Get
funny.
thee to the Stitchery on YouTube.
Yes, the Stitchery. I really just like her personality. She is much more of like, she's a me-made person. So like she likes to make her wardrobe and almost exclusively wears her wardrobe. But she's super into like making, not historical necessarily. I think she takes a lot of historical influences. She makes a lot of modern clothing, but stuff
like
that's
history bounding.
Yeah, kind of. She takes from it like the adjustability aspects, the comfort, the pockets. Like she highlights those sorts of things. And I don't necessarily think her style and my style are anything alike. But I like that she touches on those things and that she doesn't use patterns. She just kind of flies by the seat of her pants, which I relate to. And very fun, quirky personality. And I just like I just like watching her videos and hearing what she has to say. Like they're very informal. Like they're well done, but they're just very informal, fun. They're just a fun time.
It
So
sounds
yeah.
great. I'm definitely going to check her out.
Yeah.
Charlie from the Stitchery. All right. My number 5 is Makara Tours, which I remember last time you said you had not heard of. Did you watch any of her stuff since then?
No, because I still didn't recognize the name. Makara Tours?
So I guess how I would describe her is like Jenna Marbles meets being Barbie obsessed. So
Oh,
she does all these like she does all these sewing projects. She also doesn't use patterns. She just makes them out of whatever. She bought a house and she's been restoring like the Victorian decor in her house.
yeah.
She decorated her Prius to look like a Barbie mobile.
Wow.
It seems to me like she just does whatever she wants and makes videos of it, and I'm
I
so here for it. She's
yeah.
so unhinged. I
I
love it. She's
all
got a
right,
bird named
subscribed.
Garion.
Subscribed.
A little monk parakeet named Garion.
Yeah.
Got some
Her tagline
chickens at her
is
parents' house.
I make stuff and I do stuff.
And that's true.
That is 100% what she does. Okay, then
Yeah,
I'm in.
she has
I'm
a
in.
couple. She has a couple RVs. She'll just go on road trips with her friends, and like, she'll be like, "I need a new outfit," and I'm on the road, so she'll break out a sewing machine in her RV, and she's like, "Got time to make a new outfit." I love it.
That's the type
And
of
she
unhinged
also
I aspire to be.
she does these like really energetic voiceovers that she talks like a mile a minute, which I love because I feel like most people, I'm listening to them and I'm like, "Oh, can you talk a little faster, please?" You know, it's that like. Anyway, it's the same reason why I loved watching Gilmore Girls when I watched Gilmore Girls. And don't come for me, I know it's problematic now; it hasn't aged well. But
It
one of the
really
things I loved
doesn't,
about
but
Gilmore, it has not aged well. But one of the things I loved about that show is just how quick the dialogue is. It just
yes.
keeps me going. It feeds the need for drama at a quick pace.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Makara kind of has that like speedy dialogue thing going for it. She's also hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't know what else can you say.
I don't know.
Yeah, she had one moment of being like called out on the internet because she filmed on a plantation and she apologized for it, and I thought the apology was totally fine and understandable. She's young. She's way younger than us, so
Okay.
I was like, all right, you got called out for being problematic and you took responsibility for it and apologized for it. That sounds great.
Sorry,
So,
there's a burp.
I got no problem with her. She's cool.
I love it.
Yeah. All right.
My
number 5.
number 5. Ariel Bissett? Bissett? I don't.
Never heard of this person either.
Okay. She has a podcast about books. That's not how I found her. I found her because she has a beautiful 1830s home in Nova Scotia that she bought sight unseen. Like, I mean, she'd been taken through a video tour, but she had never visited it.
Wow.
And
So risky.
she was just like, I need to buy a house. I can afford this house. Let's do it. And so her whole YouTube channel essentially is dedicated to her restoring and renovating and remodeling and decorating and designing this house. And she's also just so lovely. She's Canadian, so she has that like lovely Canadian accent and like way of speech. Canadians probably don't think they have an accent compared to Americans, but they totally do, and it's beautiful. I love it. They also just have a way that they talk that I really enjoy listening to. It's just something different from like me or whoever else is around me. But she seems so sweet, and she's opening up her own bookstore.
Sorry,
and
there's some dogs barking.
It's okay. And she is starting her own bookstore by doing a truck. So she bought a mini truck and she's going to put books on the back of it and she's going to drive around Nova Scotia. And that is how she is going to begin her bookstore. And she's just like the right amount of
I'm so
Woof,
sorry.
woof. The right amount of unhinged, but in like the sweetest way. Adorable. Love her.
Like, yeah, I'm surprised I have not come across her in all of my van life media consumption. If she's building a bookstore out of a truck.
Well, she hasn't made a lot of videos about that yet. I'm assuming they're
okay.
coming.
Yeah.
She's not a frequent flyer on YouTube. Like, she doesn't post very often. Just, I think by the nature of what she makes videos about, it just takes time. So I'm assuming it's coming, and I'm very, very excited. But yeah, so that's my number 5.
Right. My number 6, I needed someone quilty. So I'm going to say Chris Marchini. I think that's how you say his name. From Rose City Originals. He's based out of Portland, Oregon. He makes he makes his own quilt patterns, makes really cool quilts. He does these series on, I don't know if he has a YouTube. I just follow him on Instagram. But he did these series called Community Quilts, where he had people from all over the world send him fabric scraps, and each day he would make a new block. And he would just roll
amazing.
some like D&D dice to pick the pattern for the block, and then he'd just open some random envelopes from around the world, read who the fabric came from, and then he would make that fabric into the block that he rolled for the day. So it's like a randomly generated quilt, but and then at the end of the year he raffles it off to raise money for the Trevor Project.
Oh my God.
Like,
That is
freaking wholesome.
amazing.
Yeah, so he does a lot of charity type stuff. Does sell his own patterns. He's got a really cool skull quilt pattern. He has a Monstera leaf pattern. I haven't done any of his patterns yet, but I just think he's a joy to have in my Instagram feed. There's never anything negative. It's always, here's what I'm making, and here's what we're raising money for, this great cause, or like, here's a cool thing that I did in the quilt world. So, highly recommend.
I love that.
Rose City Originals with Chris Marchini.
Rose City Originals. Wow.
I could watch this man make quilt blocks every day for years, and I have.
I love that. And here's the moment where I notice that voice recorder is not working. So now the audio should get a little bit better. Anyway, so you just talked about your number 6 person.
Yes.
Okay. So my number 6 person is who I just added. And then I added a 7th person because I thought of somebody else. So don't feel the need to add, because otherwise we'll just keep doing this all night.
Yeah, I know.
My 6th person is, and this is kind of, it's kind of like the distinction between a professional and a hobbyist. But I know she started out as a hobby, and it has she has a huge influence on interior design as a hobby for me, and also DIY. But Alexandra Gator, she has a whole team.
Oh.
They have a whole show, and
is this
they
Instagram
do
or YouTube?
YouTube,
Okay.
and they do like DIY interior design stuff, and it's primarily for small spaces. So it's like studio apartments, or like one room in an apartment, and they do like a lot of apartment friendly stuff. It's, yeah.
I'm listening. I'm just looking at her channel.
You're
right
looking
now.
She very much.
Ooh, I clicked
she isn't
subscribe, and it glowed and gave me some sparkles. That's so fancy.
I know. Giving you the dopamine for your actions.
Yeah, like, all right, thank you.
She's definitely not really my style.
Yeah, I would not say this style is my style either. It's very minimalist.
Yeah, she's very modern, very minimalist, but I like her thought processes, and I really like the way she explains her thought processes, and how she goes about these like DIY things that she does, and how she thinks about the way that she organizes a space. So yeah, I feel like her explanations about things can transcend different styles. It's not just about like her specific style and thinking, oh well, she's not my style, so it that won't help me. But I think her explanations of things are really good. And then my bonus person, I realized that I didn't add anyone for my like Notion organization / streaming as a hobby thing, because they're both so new to me, so I really wasn't thinking about it. But these are like my hyper fixations right now, so I should probably include it. And this goes to one person. This is for Rosanna Text. Rosanna TXT. She is on YouTube. And then she has that is her Sims channel. So she plays The Sims.
Yeah.
Her Notion channel and productivity channel is Extra Text. Extra TXT. She is a lovely, sweet person from the Netherlands. And I found her, she was the first ever streamer that I watched and was a part of. I started watching her Sims streams, and then I started joining in on her Pomodoro, like work from home streams. And she just made, like, I felt so included in her community, in her chat, and I felt so, she made everything feel really accessible. So she made streaming feel really accessible, YouTuber stuff with The Sims, like she's very like open about how to do everything and like everything she uses. And then also like the Notion stuff, she explains everything super clearly. Like everything I do on Notion is based off of like one video that she put out, where I just kind of like would see something and then I would pause it, do it on my own Notion,
like, oh God,
and then start the video again. So anyway, so sorry for adding a seventh person, but I felt like I wasn't being well-rounded.
You're so fine.
Okay, so I wrote this question because I wanted to bring this episode into our overarching theme of like neurodivergence in the hobby space. I just came up with that. I love that. Don't roll your eyes at me.
Look at us being podcasters.
So do we think, and I'm going to answer it first, even though I'm the one that wrote it. Do we think many hobbyists are neurodivergent?
Like specifically the hobby creators?
Yes, the people that we're talking about right now.
Yes.
So first, I want to make the disclaimer with this whole thing is we are not experts and we're not trying to diagnose these people. What I'm saying is I feel like I see a lot of myself in the people that I follow online, specifically the hobby people. And so I feel like a lot of them show neurodivergent traits. And I mean, like, these are people that are so into something that they feel the desire to share it online despite backlash and mean people online and like social norms. And I think that just kind of speaks for itself, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it takes a special kind of person to turn something that, like, turn their passion into a job. And we'll get into this in in the money episode.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's hard enough to make time for your hobby for yourself, let alone all of the extra time and effort it takes to film it in a way that makes it accessible to other people and is enjoyable to watch. It is very difficult to make. I don't think people realize how difficult YouTubing actually is.
Oh my God.
like
you're your own writer, you're your own
especially
videographer,
if it's just
lighting.
Yeah, especially if it's just you. I mean, big YouTubers have a team of people, right? They might have an editor, they might have a video like a filming person. But a lot of YouTubers starting out, you now wear 50 hats. You're doing it all. And a lot of them don't go to school for it, right? So it's like they're teaching themselves. I think it takes a special kind of person to teach themselves how to do all those things and also teach themselves, or whoever teaches them their hobby, like to pursue that hobby on top of all of those other jobs. I mean, I've considered YouTubing my sewing before, and every time I'm like, the fame isn't worth it for me. Not that I'm assuming I would get famous, right? But like, people get stalked on YouTube often. A lot of female YouTubers that I follow have stopped YouTubing or greatly reduced their activity because people find them in real life and stalk them. and threaten
Yeah.
them. Like, that is a real problem. And I think you're
Yeah.
right. I think people that continue to do it despite that must really enjoy it.
Yeah, but also, and also like, not but, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Also having enough ideas and to be able to
And
do this one thing.
and not get
Like,
constantly burnt out.
yeah. What?
I
That's
don't
so,
know.
I don't know. That's sus.
I
That's
think it's
spicy.
different than average. There's a bell curve of ways you can handle a hobby, and I don't think that's in the middle of the bell curve.
No, okay. No, definitely not.
That's
okay,
my
we can move
assessment.
on from this question. I don't want to get into armchair diagnoses, but I did want to bring
Yep.
it back to the fact that
Yeah, I think we're not talking
Like-
about anyone specific. We're talking about the content creation field around hobbies as a whole.
yeah.
You know, that is a very interesting concept to get meta about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so many people, like, I'll be watching them, and some of them are really outspoken about being neurodivergent. Like,
Yeah.
Rosanna Tex, for example, is very outspoken about having ADHD and that being part of her brand. But some of them I'm watching and I'm just like, there's no way you're neurotypical. Coming from all the love in my heart, there's just
Yes.
like, that's the way their passion for this.
I can
thing.
smell it on them from here.
Yeah, I can smell it. Okay. Anyway.
All right. Next question. But I'm glad we're thinking about the overarching themes of the show. I think that's important. We're gonna continue to get meta here on Chronically Distracted. But anyway, in our sewing episode, which seems like forever ago now, but it was in fact our last episode, you talked about how most of your YouTube consumption is sewing videos, despite your distaste for actual sewing. Do you want to elaborate on that? Or do you have any other hobbies or topics that you follow strictly intellectually but not in practice?
Yeah, so I think part of the reason that I continue to watch people that sew, even though I don't really have any real intention of doing it, is partially because I'm always so fascinated. Like, there's a point of like fascination for me that continues because I don't do that myself, if that makes sense. So they maintain their status very high up in, my content watching because I don't do it. So like sometimes I might skip a Serpa design video because I'm working on reptile cages.
You're
And
like,
especially
I've got
if
enough of it in my head right now.
yeah, there's enough in my head right now. Like it's currently it's kind of lost that spark for seeking that out in something to watch because I'm doing that IRL. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it. But then you asked if there was any other topics that I follow intellectually but not in practice, and I didn't have an answer for this until like a few nights ago, where I watched an hour-long video on YouTube of this person who grew her own linen. She grew flax herself, and then she harvested it, and then she learned how to process it herself, and then she learned how to make it into linen fibers, and then she learned how to weave it, or no, she learned how to spin it, and then she learned how to weave it, and she made a tapestry out of flax that she grew.
Oh my gosh. She didn't even start with just like regular linen broadcloth. She was just like straight up tapestry.
And whack, whack. It was so cool.
Yeah.
But I could never. My brain literally cannot with the lack of instant gratification. She waited
that's like the
months.
most prolonged gratification.
I don't understand how people that can do that sort of thing, I don't understand how their brain works. She waited months just for the flax to be ready to harvest.
I don't know. I mean, she's got to have other stuff going on. She's not just sitting there watching the flax grow.
No, I know she has other things going on. But the problem is that if I would have planted the flax all excited and it would have died 2 days later because it not being instant gratification would mean that I would forget about it completely. There would be no flax to make into linen. So that's another example of something that is just not going to happen in practice, but it was so freaking cool to watch. Like, so cool. Maybe me in another life would be able to do that. but not
Yeah,
in
right.
this life.
Definitely not me with access to the internet. Like, it's just not gonna happen. I'm even
Yeah.
watching reels. I'm not watching the flax grow. I'm not
Yeah.
learning how to card flax.
No, not in this lifetime. Probably not. Probably.
All right.
Well,
Well, I don't know. You might get old and decide now's the time. Now's the time.
yeah.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
always time.
There's
If you could meet any of your favorite hobbyists, who would you choose, and what would the itinerary be?
I think this is a really unfair question because why would you make me choose one? First of all, so I want to meet all of
For the
them.
sake
not
of
just
the
one.
podcast.
No, and no, I refuse. I refuse to
Alright.
choose just one. Also, I want to point out that I would be so much more starstruck meeting one of these people than any celebrity. Like
Yeah,
I
right.
could meet Paris Hilton,
Yeah.
and I'd just be like, "Yeah, that's a person. That's kind of cool."
yeah, hey, you're great at marketing.
If I ran into Rachel Maxey
I would
at
pee
a
myself.
grocery store,
I would pee myself.
yeah, I would not even be able to talk to her.
I know.
Like I
and-
would be so starstruck. I would want
and she
her
would
to
be
like
so
me
sweet. She
so-
wouldn't be able to talk either. So it would just be like,
No, she's probably going to be awkward about it too, because she's even said like on her videos that she's awkward when that happens. So like, yeah, no, I would just want her to like me so badly that I would not
know,
be able to
right?
function.
yeah, I'd be so
So-
unlikable because I'd be, please like me. You're so cool.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like, please like me. Mostly though, if I was going to meet any of these hobbyists, I would want to work on a project with them. Like I would want to build a tank with Tanner,
That would be
and
so
I would want to like make
This is
a
the next-
like just like a ridiculous DIY with Rachel, and like have Bernadette like scold me for my bad sewing skills. Like, you know,
She would
like,
never.
I don't know, she might with me.
She might.
She might. I might bring that out in her.
Maybe this is a new Trova trip category that instead of like traveling, it's like do a creative project with your favorite hobbyist.
Yeah.
That's kind of, I mean,
Yeah.
with in the quilt world, they have those. That's like quilt retreats with an instructor, and you just get to make quilts with your favorite quilter. Like they already do that.
That's so cool.
Isn't
That's
that
so
fun?
cool.
I think
would
we
love
should
that.
bring the idea of retreats, like because people do writing retreats, and then of course there's quilt
Yeah.
retreats.
Yeah.
Why aren't we doing hobby retreats? Why aren't we doing DIY reptile enclosure retreats?
I don't know. We should talk to Tanner. We
That
should
would
be
be-
like, Tanner, you
That
should
would
do
be
this.
so motivating, actually, if we like rented a warehouse for like a week, and it's like, all right, we sell like 25 tickets to attend this workshop with Tanner, and he teaches us how not to suck at building enclosures.
Yeah, and he just did a video about like a micro enclosure.
Yeah,
That would be perfect for
That would be,
something
like-
like that.
yeah, something like that. And then
That'd be
you're motivated
amazing.
because everyone around you is doing it, and there's all the supplies right there. I don't know. It's an option.
I would love
I'm
that.
just saying there's a business model for someone that isn't me.
That isn't me. Yeah, definitely.
All right, last question, Sid.
Okay.
What do you think about the interplay between hobby content creators, clickbait, hobby hopping, and creative burnout? Now, there's a lot going on here.
That is a doozy of a question. So I think overall, I think hobby influencing is a great thing. Like I talked about in the first episode, like destigmatizing different hobbies and like making hobbies more accessible. But I do think it can become a negative if people are just using it as an addition to their doom scrolling. Like instead of taking part in their hobbies, they're watching somebody else take part in a hobby. And like I, for one, I spend way too much time on my phone. I spend way too much time on the internet. I am chronically online. And that's okay. There's pros and cons to that, you know? Like I feel like I've made a lot of friends that way. I feel like I have community. It's a great way to relax at the end of the day. But at the same time, you know, there's like I can fall into a little bit of a pit of despair and just kind of scroll through other people doing hobbies when I could be doing my own hobbies.
And you could be getting serotonin from your own hobby instead of getting lack thereof from watching other people do it.
Yeah. And I think as far as burnout, like I think that hobbyists that share their hobbies online, they really toe that line of no longer enjoying their craft.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that more in the money episode too. But I've noticed a lot of them will start to hop around, like they'll start to leave their niche a little bit. And I feel like personally, and I don't know for sure, but I feel like it's probably to avoid burnout or because they're starting to get burnt out.
Yes. And some of them are very open about this. Like Alex Green from Go Herping was very open when he was like, hey, I'm starting to feel burnt out on the reptiles. I'm burnt out on other reptiles. I'm going to genuinely make content about anything other than reptiles. And
that's kind of sad, like, because I religiously watched his videos.
Yeah, same.
And like he would have made the list, man. But I just, I don't care about cars. So so I still unsubscribe to him.
I watched a lot of his gig work videos, like he delivered for Amazon or delivered for DoorDash or something, because I thought those were kind of interesting. But I mean, I started watching him for the reptile thing, and like, I mean, it gets us into a different question of like, how sustainable is YouTube really if you are like confined to one very specific niche,
Yeah. And I think that's part of the problem with YouTube is like, it's so much about numbers and about viewership. And like, yes, I realize I am part of the problem in that he changed his niche and I stopped watching him. But I only have so many hours in my day. Yeah. And I don't want to watch a YouTube video about a Tesla. I just don't. There's other YouTube videos I could watch. There are actual hobbies that I can do instead, maybe. But I respect his right to be burnout of reptiles. I hope he goes back to it at some point. Not for me, but just because he was so great at it, and it was clearly something he cared about
it
loved.
A lot. He did it at a high quality level.
Yeah,
which is part of why I liked watching his stuff, because he was very detail oriented about it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he really cared about the animals. I think that really came through with him. So yeah, I think I answered your question.
I think you did too.
Okay. So along that same line, my first question for you is, do you think hobbyist social media is an asset or a disservice to your creative process?
Yeah, so I think in general it's an asset, as long as like you said, I'm not just doom scrolling endlessly in search of a perfect idea that doesn't exist, because I do catch myself sometimes doing that, where I'm like, I don't know what to do, I need to find the perfect thing.
Guilty.
But I think that's a disservice, because really anytime I get like a sparkle of like, ooh, that I want to try that, I just go for it. Like, I don't think about whether it's the most efficient use of my time. I don't think about whether it's the best project I could be doing right now in terms of like improving society or whatever. I know a lot of people are concerned about that. I am not concerned about that. I'm like, what is this cool? I want to know if the idea is cool enough for me to pursue in my mind.
Yeah.
I'm very self-indulgent with my hobbies.
As you should be. It's your hobby.
It's my hobby. It's what I need to stay chained to this planet as long as possible. I want to be doing it for what I enjoy. So, but if I'm spending more time scrolling than doing, then that's a problem. So I want to be spending more time actually doing my hobbies than watching other people do them. But I definitely find a lot of inspiration in other people's projects, and I'm really grateful to the people that I follow that share their projects publicly, despite all of the things that they face being so public. I don't envy that situation at all.
No.
Yeah. So, next question. Give it to me.
So, we've talked a lot about YouTube and Instagram specifically, but do you follow any other hobby-related content streams?
I do. I love I love listening to podcasts. So I guess it's convenient.
You do like to listen to hobby podcasts.
I do. I know a lot of people don't like hobby podcasts. Like they want like more educational podcasts or story podcasts or just straight up audiobooks. I love a hobby podcast. So I have a little list I won't go into too much detail about the ones that I like, but there's Quilt Buzz, which it's 2 quilters, and they interview a new third quilter every episode. So they invite people on. They have guests every time. So I actually learned. I love listening to Quilt Buzz because it helps me find more quilters to follow that like share my philosophy about quilting and like repurposing things.
Yeah.
So like that. Then there's Grateful Threads, which is 2 ladies, and yes, it is based off of the Grateful Dead, and they are called
I love that.
Threadheads. I love it. They're 2 younger quilters, a little older than me, but like as you can imagine, the quilt community is quite old.
Elderly.
Quite elderly. So they really started their podcast and their community to get like a younger vibe to quilt content and try to make sure, and their whole deal is they want to be inclusive. Like their motto is "You can sit with us." We want people of all kinds to be quilting. It's not just like an old white woman hobby.
That's so cute. I love that.
Yeah, isn't that so? It's so wholesome. And they also have guests on their episodes too. Then I have the Aquarium Guys, which is an aquarium-based podcast, and it's just a bunch of guys talking about fish. And I gotta say, I do not agree with everything that they talk about ideologically.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, it's a hoot and a holler. Listen to them just shoot the shit about fish. So there's that one. The American Patchwork and Quilting podcast. So APQ is like a pretty famous, I think it's a quilt magazine, but there's like a long history of focusing on American patchwork and quilting, and their podcast is really well produced, and they just have a different topic every time and talk about different quilting topics, and like how to get your Christmas quilts done before the holidays, or like stuff like that. I don't know.
That's awesome.
It's like a more traditional focus on quilting. And then I have, of course, Down the Hobby Hole, which I mentioned in episode 1, which is a hobby podcast just like ours.
Yeah, it's our brother,
our brother podcast. Yeah.
It's the slightly more masculine.
Yeah,
take
English version on this.
Yeah. Okay, so let's end this episode on a absolutely ridiculous note.
Okay.
Whack, marry, kill your favorite hobbyists.
Oh my god. All right. Well, we're losing our sponsors.
We don't have any sponsors.
We're losing them. Well, I would definitely marry Rachel Maxey because she's probably the sweetest human alive. Not to be like extra parasocial with her, and I know she would decorate my house extremely well.
Oh, 100%. So whimsical. It'd be the most whimsical home.
I would be living in a little fairy castle.
Yes.
But I don't want to pick. I don't want to pick the other 2. I'm not killing anyone. I'm gonna marry them all, and we'll all have a crafty polyamorous commune.
Okay. Maybe let's change it to have lunch with, marry, and steal their audience. So personally, I think having lunch with Rachel or Charlie would be equally chaos filled. It would just be a damn good time. I'd marry Ariel because you haven't seen her house yet.
No.
But it's freaking gorgeous. It's from the 1830s.
I'm checking it out later.
It's in Nova Scotia. It's right next to a stream. I could live there if I married her. And I could help her out with all of her projects on fixing up that home. So it's totally for great reasons that I'd want to,
not selfish.
her.
I'm gonna help.
Not selfish. Anyway, I'm gonna help. And then I'd love to steal Tanner's audience. Just temporarily. So they can watch me fail at making my reptile enclosures and tell me how much I suck.
Oh, I'm sure they'd be nice about it, but that would be funny.
Yeah. And just like a random video on his channel, and it's just like, me with my sad enclosures. They're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. All right, I can handle this version of the game. I think I'd have lunch with Makara because it would be absolutely unhinged. And I'm here for that energy. I'm here for that energy.
Yes.
And I would want Bernadette's audience because I feel like they're going to be absurdly educated.
Okay, that is exactly why I would not want Bernadette's audience.
No, I
Because they are so smart and they're so nice too, but like they scare me a little. They're so smart.
It's okay. I like smart people. I want to hang out with smart people. I don't want
smart people scare me.
No, smart people, I feel like they tend to be nice.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. We have academia trauma, so we're gonna move.
Yeah,
on.
we have academia trauma. Sorry.
Well, folks, would you look at the time?
I can't. I have time blindness.
Oh, but don't we all?
That wraps up this week's episode, which was sponsored by Crafty Doomscrolling. All of the crafts with absolutely none of the time. Will we fall into a spiral of existential despair? Only time will tell. Please join us next week as we explore whatever episode's coming next. Before you log off, be sure to hit those follow and or subscribe buttons. And if you're feeling extra nice, consider leaving us a review. We want those 5-star reviews like we want Senpai Maxie to notice us, and reviews help other listeners find our show. So tell us what you think.
See you next time. Go get a hobby.
Go get a hobby.
That was better. I like that. And it was less creepy. Chronically Distracted is produced by Katie and Sid. Audio and video editing by Sid. Script writing by Katie. Our theme song is by Geoff-Bremner from freesound.com. What? Why are you laughing?
I don't know. We haven't recorded in so long that now I feel awkward.
No, we totally got it. Just let me know when you're ready, and I'll bring the vibes.
You're gonna bring the vibes?
I'm gonna murder the awkward vibes that we came in here with, and replace them with something reasonable. We are two long-term friends who have bonded over intellectual rabbit holes, animal husbandry, and grandma crafting for years.
And now we're here to talk your ears off about it all. I can't. I'm sorry. Your vibes are too good.
All right, I'm gonna restart the second part.
Notice us.
Notice us, please. Notice us. Notice us. Notice us. This is gonna be a short.
Yeah. So I just want to point out that like this whole episode is us just being like, we want all of these people to notice us, please.
Please notice us. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. We're giving them free advertising.
Self-serving. Oh yeah, we're giving them so much free advertising.
This episode is free advertising.
So follow us, talk to us, notice us, senpai.
If any of these people talk to
Please
me,
like
I'm
us.
gonna be so scared.
I know. Okay, we need to stop recording.
Okay, I'm stopping mine now.